Hi, Christos Paloukas here, performance engineer at Pressidium Managed WordPress Hosting, coming in from my own home again with Marcus Burnette. Marcus Burnette is from Bluehost, and Marcus Burnette is very known for being the creator of the WP world. Hi, Marcus.
Hey, Christos. Thanks for having me.
Do you want to go ahead and continue the introduction? Tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Marcus Burnett. I recently actually moved over to the Bluehost team. I used to work at GoDaddy. Now I'm in the strategy and customer experience over at Bluehost, and like you said, the creator of the WP world, which I think we'll talk a little bit more about. But it's kind of a WordPress community of communities, if you will.
Yeah, there's lots of those around WordPress. What makes yours special, I think, or at least what it's very known for, is the map. It's literally referred to as the map.
The map, yeah, and I was thinking about that recently and moved it back up a little bit higher on the homepage because I had it, a nice big WordPress community header at the top, and then the map was buried down at the bottom a little bit more. And I started thinking about that too. And the fun part about the site is seeing the map and the pins of where everyone is in the world and how many there are. So I moved that back up higher on the page, so now you can see it first thing when you get to the WP worlds. But yeah, it's there are lots of people in the WordPress community, lots of mini communities within the WordPress community, and so I kind of just wanted to capture all of that in one place and be, the community of communities, and you can kind of see where everyone else is in the world.
Super helpful. Before we get into the questions, I wanted to mention that I'm going to be traveling to Rome on the 3rd of March, and it did help me find 4 people to reach out to. Haven't gotten replies yet, but I will chase them down. Actually, it was 3 people around Naples and 1 person in Rome. I really do wish more people... I guess you probably do too, but I really do wish more people became pressers on the site. That's the term you use, right? Pressers.
It is, yeah. And sometimes I compare myself to, I look at the flagship camps and there's, 2,000, 2,500 people, and the WP world is not quite even there yet. So I know there are more people out there. It's kind of good and bad. On the one side, I think, I could have way more people, but on the other hand, I know that, I haven't reached the pinnacle of who can be on the site yet, because I know there are lots more folks out there attending camps and being active in the WordPress community and different places. So the goal is just to keep growing.
Well, that's a great way to look at it. Do you remember how many are there now?
Just over 1,700, so nearing 2,000. I get a handful a day at the moment, depending on what's going on. People are at headed to WordCamp Asia right now, and so people will be sharing with each other some about it, and I'll get an influx of people, but nearing 2,000.
It's a lot of people. I mean, okay, sure, it's not the whole WordPress community, but that's still a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So, first question, you ready?
Yep.
How did this all start? What is the inspiration behind having created a site with the map and trying to, I don't know, maybe pinpoint WordPress users' locations?
Yeah, it's actually kind of a 2-step. The map actually came before the community aspect of it. A couple of years ago, I'm sort of, I don't really call myself a developer. I have a handful of different talents, and I'm okay at most of them. But I wanted to see what it takes to build a Google map, which is kind of ironic because I've switched over from Google to Mapbox, but that doesn't matter. The point was I wanted to be able to build a map using one of the map SDKs and use WordPress in some way to power putting the pins on the map. This could be like a store locator or whatever, but I wanted to build something and not just pull a plugin off a shelf and say, throw some store locations in. I wanted to see if I could, build something where I stored latitude and longitude in fields in WordPress and then pulled that information back out into a map. And so I started tinkering with that. ChatGPT was kind of on the up and up then, so I was trying to also see how much of that I could leverage to build some pieces. And I managed to be able to pull some posts from a WordPress database and put them on a Google map. And I was happy with that, and I kind of shelved that for a bit and just moved on. I had other work to do, so went back to work and was doing other stuff. And then I live in Florida, and we're famously have hurricanes here, and there were a couple that came through one year, and I wanted to kind of check in with the WordPress friends that I had in Florida here around me. I know some of them, especially the ones that are close to me in the center of the state in Orlando, but I know that there are some in South Florida and West Florida, and I didn't remember where all of them were. And so I kind of put a handful of, I looked them up on Twitter and LinkedIn and wherever, and I put them into this database and used them basically as the data to power the map. And that way I knew who was here and who I wanted to check in with after the hurricanes went through, and made sure that everyone was okay. So I did that, and that ended up being, I don't know, 15, 20 people or something that I put in. I already had this map project, so it was easy enough for me to pull that back out and put them in as pressers. I started with that at the very beginning, and mapped them, and then was able to reach out to them. And so that was kind of fun. Realized that Florida is not the only place that has natural or otherwise disasters, or even places where people want to know who's around them. So spent a couple of weeks cleaning it up, putting the map was there, but putting stuff around the map to make it feel like a cohesive site to some degree, where people could sign themselves up, add themselves to the map, and then from then on, you could see who's around you when you add yourself to the map. So, real simple MVP to begin with. Got it out there, registered the domain, thought of some cool ideas. I liked that there was a .world top level domain. So tried to do something around that. So the domain is the wp.world. Also registered the wpworld.com just in case.
Yeah,
And that just redirects there. But got the site out there so people could start signing themselves up, and from there, people were able to see where each other are, and it kind of helps foster meeting up in person with each other, because you can see who's around you. Kind of helps with organizers of events being able to see how many people are in an area. If there's no meetup in that area, maybe they have 20-25 people, they can start a meetup in that area, and know who to reach out to invite them. And I don't know, I started coming up with all sorts of reasons why having this map would be super helpful for folks in the WordPress community. And so I've just been continuing to build on it from there.
That's I never thought about that use case. So that's perfect. Like you literally have a visual of like spots on a map that you could zoom in and say, hey, there's 20 to 25 people here. What you just said. Let's get in touch. Let's do the meetup. Wow, that's a good one. So it all started off as a challenge, like a personal challenge, and it just evolved into becoming a decently sized, I'd say pretty big, in my books, pretty big, sub-community.
Yeah, it's gone really well. I being at GoDaddy, what I did there was field marketing, and so I was at a lot of camps and stuff. And so pretty early on, I added the WordCamp aspect of it too, so that people could see what WordCamps are coming up. You could do that at WordCamp Central, but I wanted to kind of include some other information. So when you go to any given WordCamp page, there's a lot of additional information. People can rate them. This is all obviously grown over time. All of that didn't exist right from the very beginning. But every piece that I add, whether it's the pressers themselves or WordCamp events or businesses, a lot of that information can be found elsewhere. So I've tried to figure out what can I do to kind of grab pieces from all these other places. Like I use the WordCamp Central REST API to pull in information from camps, but then there's also ratings, and then there's also pressers who have tagged themselves as going to that event. So there's no other place on the web where you can find all of that information in one place about any given event. And that's kind of the idea, is how do I pull things in? I've tried to automate a lot of it, so when you sign up as a presser, you see your WordPress.org badges. You see your photo directory contributions, your theme and plugins that you've built. All of that stuff shows up there without you having to add it. As soon as you put in what your .org username is, the site goes out and pulls all that stuff in for you from all the different locations. And so the goal has been to kind of populate the site in the most automated way possible, so that the the pressure isn't on you as the presser or the camp or whatever to come input that information. It's all there in that place for you. Now, there's a lot of things that you can add yourself as a presser, and some things that you can override. The site will pull in your employer if you have your employer listed on .org, but if you don't want to show your employer, or you work part-time at a couple of different places and you want to show a different one, you have the option to overwrite that and stuff as well. But yeah, it's really just been building all of this up over time to try and figure out how to make it the best resource for people in WordPress to come see what's going on with the camp or with the presser.
I love that. I love the consolidation, or taking all the data from ready-made sources and presenting it in a way, I don't know, more fun kind of format, more interactive.
Yeah, and it continues the original challenge of, how do I don't know, become a better developer or learn how to develop these things. I didn't know a whole lot, excuse me, about the REST API when I started, and I didn't know a whole lot about the map SDK, and ChatGPT was just coming up. So I've kind of combined all of those things and learned more about the REST API and what you can find from any given WordPress site out of the box, just because the REST API exists, and leverage ChatGPT to help build some of those pieces and help me learn how to develop better. And so the whole thing has also kind of been an extension of that original development building challenge. Is what new thing can I learn to help extend this and make it even better for everyone?
It's great. You've mentioned this is me trying to segue into the second question. You've mentioned the WordCamp stuff and a couple other features. My second question was going to be, recently I've noticed that you've been a bit avid about updating the site, and you've added some new things, including the WordPress thing. Do you want to, the WordCamp thing? Do you want to talk about those new things you've added?
Sure. The list keeps growing, and I'm starting to lose track of the things that I've done recently, but the site's been around for, I want to say, about a year and a half, maybe coming up on 2 years this summer. I went through a building phase where early on I was adding a lot of things daily, weekly, just trying to keep people excited, people signing up. That's leveled out a little bit, and then I took a little bit of a break back in September of last year and just kind of let the site sit for a little bit. I didn't take anything down. I didn't change a whole lot. I just kind of let it be what it is, and people would still sign up, but I didn't do a whole lot of additions. I just kind of wanted to let it be and kind of see where the bugs are, see where the holes are, see what people are looking for. And then at the beginning of this year, 2025, I kind of recommitted to getting back in and making updates. I've revamped the presser page. I've revamped the WordCamp page, some of the individual listing pages. There's a lot of information. One of the things I've noticed as I've started to build more of this up is I keep pulling in more and more information from different places to try and automate and kind of be that aggregated place for all of that info. But a lot of information is very hard to put into a UI, and so I've had to go through a couple of different iterations of cleaning that up and making it more presentable and trying to reformat and relay out the data in a way that makes sense. And so a lot of that has happened. There's a recommended hosting page in the site that I've continued to build on, and there will be some more things coming this year. We'll get to that in a minute, I think, but I want to find ways to engage people to come back to these places. And so there's ratings now. One of the last things that I added was people being able to add their preferred hosts to their presser profile. and that's kind of based on the post type of hosting companies that's there. So there's some cross linking when you choose, Presidium as your host of choice. Then that links back to the hosting page and shows your presser avatar on the hosting page as well. So then when you're at the Presidium page, you can see all the people in the site that have recommended, specifically on their presser page, that have recommended that host as their host of choice. And then you can choose a few different hosts if you're, like an agency that uses multiple hosts. You'll show up on each of them. But just trying to find, a lot of it's just driven by what I think will provide some kind of value to people coming to the site. What are other people saying about who they choose as a host? You can go to the hosting page and you can see the ratings, but that doesn't really put like a face to the hosts. You can see people in the site, whoever they may be, prefer, these top 3 hosts or whatever, but now you can actually see individual faces and say, oh, I know these 3 people, I know these couple people over here, I value their opinion, I'm going to go with this host. And just trying to find ways to always add additional value for anyone coming to the site looking for information about other people in WordPress or the camps or anything like that.
That's amazing. You put a lot of thought into it. Like, it's super innovative to have. So I didn't see you could see the users' avatars or like their little image for the hosting stuff. I saw it on the WordCamp Asia page, which was really cute and really like well presented. But I'm blown away with the fact that you could have like multiple hosts. Okay, it sounds simple, but it's something that I would have definitely forgot because yeah, there's definitely use cases where you would pick multiple hosts. And that does complicate things from a back end perspective, I think, because then you have like one-to-many relationships going on. Also, I noticed that it's quite snappy. Okay, so I'm a performance guy, and I do notice that you do like fun stuff. Like again, on the WordCamp Asia page, you are conscious enough not to make the user wait for you to pull the information about the number of tickets sold, for instance. Like, you use Ajax requests to make those calls to, I assume, WordCamp Central. I didn't look into it.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things starting January 1st that, again, with so much information in the database, not only was it looking, a little bit scrambled on some of the pages, but they're also starting to load pretty slowly, pulling from lots of different places. And so there's definitely been an effort in the last couple of months to find ways to better cache information. There were, especially on the camp pages, it would go out and grab speaker information and organizer information and description information about a camp that happened 2 years ago, and it would do it every time the page loaded, and that make a whole lot of sense. Nothing has changed in 2 years, and so saving some of that into the database and pulling it from the database rather than going out and fetching it every time. So WordCamps that are still in the future, they're still getting updated. I'm still pulling some of that information in. It's still being cached. There's a lot of WordPress transient usage going on in there to kind of cache a lot of that information, and then that'll disappear after a week or so when it'll refresh with new info. But things that have happened in the past are likely not changing a whole lot, and so I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what can be cached, what can be saved in the database, so it's not hitting WordCamp Central APIs so often. The ticket sales is a little bit different of a thing because it's actually doing some screen scraping in the background. There's no API that can be hit to pull the ticket sales info. So it's actually having to go out and traverse the ticket revenue pages that WordCamp Central offers the reporting for anyone to look at, so you could go look at it. But it has to go to that page. It finds how many tickets were sold. It finds how many tickets were refunded, does a little bit of math, and then brings that number back to the page and loads that in. And there was no way to do that in a time sensitive way other than to have some Ajax doing that after the page loaded. So yeah, in that particular instance, I do have it loading that after the rest of the page is loaded, just so you know, you can start looking around on the page before the ticket sales. And then again, if the event has already happened, ticket sales aren't happening anymore. That number gets saved in a field and with the event as that final number, and then it doesn't have to go out and find what the current ticket sales are. But yeah, a lot of work. Some of that work was done pre January 1st, but a lot of the performance work has been in the last couple of months to try and improve the site speed, because I noticed that it started to slow down a bit with the amount of information that was being pulled from different places.
I'm always happy to consult with you if you
Yeah,
ever,
absolutely.
yeah, as a contribution kind of thing. I don't want your money,
I'm
don't worry.
I'm sure there are far more ways that I can make it even better. And
I'm
I'll
also
continue to work on those things throughout the rest of this year too.
I don't know. I'm not so sure because like you start off with the whole, oh, I'm not really a developer, but you end up combining things that like systems people do with the database stuff, integrators with the API stuff, and full stack development because you talked about the UI, which I really suck at like front end stuff. Maybe for, yeah, maybe for like optimizing front end stuff, for like core web vitals, that's something I can manage, but making something look good across multiple devices, it's a bit of a it's huge for me. I don't know, I can't do it. I come from a systems
Yeah.
background.
I consider myself moderately okay at most of those things, which is why I'm in a strategy position and not a development position at
Yeah,
Bluehost.
moderate
I
okay.
I enjoy it, and I like the rewards of, the making something look good across devices, or writing some code that puts something on the screen that it pulled from somewhere else on the internet. And I will continue to learn and do those things and get better at them, but to profess expertise at any of those would be lying.
Fine, fine. Expertise, I don't know at the end of the day, even if I'm an expert.
Sure. There's so much to know about all of it.
Exactly, but that's why we have like the, I don't know, the what's the phrase, I'm getting confused in my Greek and my English. That's why we have the support. There's the word. That's why we have the support of the community behind us.
Right.
Aside from ChatGPT, I'm sure you've reached out to the people, or maybe people have reached out to you and have been like, "Hey, Marcus, have a look at this."
Yeah, definitely both. There's the one thing I was going to mention too. One of the big reasons why I'm able to continue the site, why I was able to get where I wasn't, where it is now, and why I'm able to continue it, is I do have a number of really great sponsors for the site. If you scroll down to the bottom of any given page in the WP world, you see some really great names there. Some of those people have sponsored with their money, which has helped pay for costs for the site itself, and helps me continue to develop it.
Mhm.
And then some are there that have been just a really great support for getting the word out. Mark Westgard from WS Forum donated WS Forum to the site, and I use it in all sorts of different places, and he's been great at helping me figure out if I need to make the forum do something in particular with posts or user accounts or anything like that. And so yeah, I mean, that's one of the great things about having a community site and having people who are invested in the community, is that you sort of naturally just get people who are interested, who want to help, who want to see the community grow, who want to see you build things that help them connect with even more people in the community. And so I'm really thankful to the sponsors and to the rest of the community that's reached out and helped make it all happen.
So nice. That's so nice. And it's in such a small like time period. So you mentioned 2 years. I thought the site was much older, and it's amazing that you can see everyone like get together and try to make it better in just that short of a time. Plus, with the brief hiatus that you mentioned in between,
Yeah.
people must like it. Probably you probably did a good job.
I hope so.
uh,
Thank you. My only ask for most people is that you just share it with some other folks that that might not already be on it. And you know the good thing about it is the more pressers and events and all of that are on it, the more valuable it becomes for everybody.
Definitely, definitely. as much as it grows, for sure. Ready to move on to the last question?
Yeah.
Cool. What's next? What do you think is
uh,
next?
yeah, the most honest answer is I'm not entirely sure exactly. I have a long list of ideas of things that I would like to add.
Okay.
Again, everything has to run through the filter of how does this provide value to the pressers, to the people that are coming to the site to find information that they're looking for about events, about businesses, about anything that's going on in WordPress. I don't intend to, add a news aspect to it. I know a lot of people have asked about that, if I'm gonna dive into WordPress news. There are lots of great people doing WordPress news out there, and I'm happy to promote them and all of that. But I do have a long list of things that I'd like to add. I have, it's a side project, so I have limited time to add those things, but I'm committed to the community and continuing to build up, as much value as I can in the site for everyone looking. Again, it kind of goes back to the original goal for the site, which was to help connect people in the WordPress community. So I have thoughts on how to do that through meetup type stuff, thoughts on how to do that through, emails sharing, hey, a new person is signed up in your area type thing. There's just a lot of ideas that I have around fostering more of that connection between people in person and online, but specifically in person now that we're able to do that again, kind of post COVID. I want people, there's just a bond that happens when you meet up with people in person that doesn't necessarily happen online, and so I love fostering that any way that I possibly can.
Yeah, it's definitely different. There's more of an exchange of spirit.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's just me, maybe, or just you. But like, we're having fun now. We're talking, but I don't really feel you.
No, it's definitely true. There's conversation. The conversations are different. The feelings are different. The connection is different when you're in person.
Definitely. Um, that's pretty amazing. So there you have it. Marcus Burnette started off a site as a technical challenge for himself to see how he can put a map on a WordPress site. Doesn't call himself a developer, but he's much more, it seems. But okay, he doesn't consider himself an expert. Fine. And the end game was just bringing people closer together. It's very WordPressy.
Yeah, I hope so. It's sort of a little bit nostalgic to the way WordPress community used to be, and I hope to continue to help make it that way and do what I can in that effort.
Cool. I mean, it shows. Is there anything else you want to add? We're running a little short on time.
Yeah, no, that's all I have. Again, my ask is just to people to check it out, the wp.world, and share with your WordPress friends.
All right. One final last question. Where can people find you if they wanted to give a suggestion for the site or if they just wanted to say hello?
Yeah, best place is to find my presser profile on the WP world, but I'm in all sorts of different Slack groups. You'll find me most active on Twitter, probably, a little bit of Blue Sky now, LinkedIn, all of those places. I'm pretty easy to find, actually.
Good. Good. I'll include all those links in the show notes so people can get in touch with you if they want to.
Awesome.
And that's all I have for you. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. All right, Marcus, take care.
You too.
Bye, everyone.